Hey, how's everyone doing today? This is Dr. Yolonda Butler with another session of A Mother's Perspective podcast. I was just searching and looking. I said, well, what is going to be our next topic? Because for the last couple of months, well, a month and a half, we've been doing refocus and reset, So, after I was thinking about that, okay, what else can we focus on or what else can we talk about that's going to help and build you up? And I heard a radio show and they were discussing friendship. And it hit me. It hit me really good. It resonated with me deeply because over the past decade, I have experienced the loss of three significant and irreplaceable sisters in my life who were friends, good friends for life. And I started thinking about the show, The Golden Girls, and the intro and the theme song comes on, said, "Thank you for being my friend," and so that hit home for me as a person that had these friends for most of my life journey. And if we just look at the lyrics, we're not going to sing it, but we are going to look at some of the lyrics and just say, thank you for being a friend, traveling down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. I'm not ashamed to say, I hope it's always will stay this way. My hat is off. Won't you stand up and take a bow? And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me. And the card attached would say, thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being my friend. Thank you for being my friend. As I remember these lifelong friendships, in 2015, I lost a dear friend. Her name was Ruby Brown West, and we were co-workers. That's how we met. We met at work. But our friendship blossomed, and this was a friendship over 25 years. Ruby was there for me for my hardest times when my mom passed. She drove me to the hospital, and was there for me in that hard time. And when we first met, we just connected, and even though, our circumstances and situations at work wasn't all that favorable, we built each other up and kept each other encouraged and supported. And then in 2021, I experienced the loss of another dear friend, Deidre Wingfield. We called her Dee Dee. And our relationship began when my youngest daughter was born because my mom had passed and my mom had watched my oldest daughter. And now here I don't have my mom, and I was panicking. And a friend of mine at work gave me my friend gave me Dee Dee's number, and I went and met her, and she was just awesome childcare that provided childcare for my daughter, and she just was the mom. She just stepped in like the mom. I would come in, she'd be like, "Hey, I made a pot of soup. You want to take some home to your family? You don't have to cook. You just getting off from work." She just became a awesome friend that was just there for me. And our relationship just lasted. So that relationship before she passed was 28 years. And then and recently in 2022, I lost another dear friend. We were friends since I was 5 years old. She was a little older than me, but since I was 5 years old. And our parents was friends, back in the neighborhood, everybody knew everybody, and your neighbors, your parents was friends. It was a little scuffle and some fights in the neighborhood, but everybody, after the fight was over, everybody was back friends again. It was over. So that's the type of friendship we had. If I was wanted to go to the basketball game at Glenville, well, I couldn't go unless her mom said she can go. So we would walk all our way down there to the game at Glenville and walk back. So that was my big sister. So as I said, she passed in 2022, and that relationship was over 65 years of friendship. And so now I'm in a season of life. I have friends and I have dear friends, but not those that I have spent a lot of time with. But I have had friends and dear friends. And I found out too that, even with my sisters, we all in our 60s now, and we're good friends. We don't always agree, but we know we are sisters and we there for each other. And then I have my two daughters that's there for me. We can sit down and talk and share some things, share some intimate things. So I'm mom, but I'm also that friend and that advisor, that counselor, there just to be there for them. So I share these stories from my heart because it seems to me that the culture of true friendship is disappearing from our society. Friendship is an essential part of our life that we must make a conscious effort to restore and practice. Friendship holds a significant place within the biblical narrative, serving as a reflection of God's relationship or relational nature and vital component of human experience. Now, as I always like to give you a biblical background, then the Bible provides us with numerous examples and teachings that, show us the value and the importance of friendship. Because friendship will give us that growth, that spiritual growth, that emotional support, that moral guidance. And God did never wanted us to be alone, never wanted us to be alone. He wants us to be with someone. If your family can't get there, you should have a friend that can get there, that could be there for you. So Proverbs 18:24 says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. That scripture right there, we quote it all the time, and that's the way these sisters I talked about they were close as my sisters. They was just that close. And so we want to make sure that we get good friends, those that would be there for us. Because, when I look at society today and our young people, the millennials and our Generation Z, they don't have friends. Most of them loners. And then social media then took over, the actual touching of a friend or hanging out. And then we have Facebook and TikTok. All of these social platforms doesn't bring in the true meaning of spending time and developing and growing as individuals and friends, sharing time with each other. So Proverbs 17:17, a friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity, because that friend will be there for you. If that friend is not there for you is only there for you in your good times and not your bad times, that's not a friend. That's what they call a fair weather friend. They're only there when the good times come in. And also I want to just plug in, if you have any comments or questions, just, put them in the feed so I could talk back with you and we could have a conversation about this friendship. And then my last scripture I have is Ecclesiastes 4:9-10. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. And that's what friendship is about. Friendship is rooted in trust, loyalty, empathy, and mutual support, enriching each other's lives by providing emotional safety. I thank God for the friends that I still have with me today. I don't want to just think of you. I make you think that all my friends are gone. No, I have some good friends that I hang out with, I have dinner with. We call, let's go to Cracker Barrel and just laugh and talk and act silly. And then I have friends, sometimes, we want to meet friends in the bar or meet friends, on the street or in the store, but when I found out and growing up in church, as I've said before, I have friends in church that's still my friends, even from us being kids. So your church community It's an opportunity for you to share and be a part of and become a friend with someone. Yeah, you're like, well, people ain't people the way they used to be. True that, but God will lead you in that. And then you'll know who's connected to you, who you see is just like you or might be opposite you, but y'all attract each other. So, just remember that. And then my mother used to always tell me, you have to show yourself friendly. You can't just be mean as a snake and expect people to draw to you. No, you have to also let down your guard, let down the walls, and some circumstances in your past might have caused you to feel this way. But in the long run, there has to be some forgiveness. There has to be some letting go. There has to be some trust developed. And that's where you spending time, just like a relationship, a man and a woman. The same with your friendship. Y'all develop that relationship, that trust, that loyalty, that empathy. You'll develop all of that. And these friends that I have now, we could talk for hours, be on the phone for hours. We go hang out, as I said. And if they have a need, I'm here to help. If vice versa. If they got a need, I'm there to help. And there may be some disagreements sometime and heated discussions. But you know what? Our friendship is bigger than that disagreement and that heated discussion. I know people that have been friends for years, but one hiccup, one oops-a-daisy, one misunderstanding, and the whole relationship is gone. I mean, we got family members like that. That's sad. One thing led to another, argument, disagreement, and we're not talking to family or loved ones no more. And that's not what God wants, but that's not what we should be portraying to our children, to our family members. We got to have that forgiveness. Let it go. Get past it. Because that relationship, that relationship is bigger than that argument. Half the time, people don't even know what the argument was about or what occurred to bring them to that point. So we gotta move past that, and we gotta allow the love of God to come in our hearts and the love of God to take control in our hearts and bring down those strongholds and them walls and them shells that we put ourselves in because we've been hurt. Be healed, be healed. We go to the doctor and we get a Band-Aid, we get some ointment. How come we can't do the same thing for our emotions and our feelings? So I thank God for my biological sisters and my daughters and all the friends that I have around me. I have a niece I could call and say, got nieces I could call and talk to them. I mean, nephews. And those are relationships. Those are relationships I have developed over the years. And my personality is a friendly personality. I have a friendly personality. I remember as a kid, I called every person I met my friend. And then I found out something. They could do bad things, your friends. I went in the house one day. Me and my friend, we was riding my bike. She was riding my bike. I was letting her ride my bike. And, Mom called us in to eat dinner. Well, I put the bike in the garage and put the lock on it. But, we didn't lock it all the way, So I come back out to ride my bike. And I was one of them kids. I love riding my bike. And so once I went in the garage, my bike was gone. I'm like, where's my bike? And so my dad and I, we walked around, and there was my friend on her street riding my bike. Well, that kind of messed me up right there. I was a kid. I was 12, 13 years old. And I'm like, how you going to take my bike? So those things happen. But in the later part of the years, as we got to high school and stuff, I let all that go. We was kids. She was a kid. She just wanted to ride a bike, So I let that go, and the friendship continue, I didn't wish no harm to her or anything. And so that's where we have to get to. We have to get to where we letting things go and letting ourselves develop relationships with people. And then sometimes we be, I'm going to say thirsty for companionship of the opposite sex. And we looking for companionship instead of a friendship. Let it be a friendship. It should not be any type of, intimacy, before the friendship is developed. Go to dinner, talk, share some things, develop your relationships and become a friend, a real friend, being there for one another, being there for one another. And those three friends, each one of those three friends, I eulogized their services. So, I was there for them, for their family. They needed me. I was there. Even in their passing, I was there. That's a friend. And it's I hold dear those friendships. Though they forever blessed me and taught me and gave me encouragement. So I will never forget them. I will never forget them. So let's dissect the dynamics of true friendship. When we look at true friendship, the qualities of true friendship or the core of true friendship is a friend is loyal, reliable, honest, empathetic, offering support through all circumstances, and creating a space for vulnerability. I remember while I was working, there was a group of us that went to lunch all the time, and one particular person that was in our group, it seemed like every time I said something, they gave me a shot or shot negativity back at me. And I couldn't believe I was on with that, So I talked to one of the friends of mine and she said, I don't know why they do that, but what I learned is, we had some words about it because we had some words about it. And I decided to say, well, that's not a friend. So sometimes you do have to just back up because the qualities of a friend is not showing up in that person. It's not showing up in that person. So friends are there to deliver emotional safety and trust. And if they're not doing that, then they're not being a friend. And these are qualities and things that we have to learn. And over my lifetime, I've learned that. And I learned that by having some good friends, Ran into some bad ones, but I had some good friends also. And so we have to do that. So then the other thing is strong friendships develop what we share and value in our experiences. As I said, my girlfriend Ruby, my mother died and we shared that experience, because at that time her father had passed. So we shared that experience together and she was there for me, So, and then when my friend Dee Dee, I came to drop my daughter off one Monday going to work, and I had a sad, I was looking sad and everything, and she said, "Lou, what's wrong? You look like somebody died." And that particular Sunday, our pastor had passed away. So she was there for me in that time. So these are experiences that we developed and grew and that they were there for me in. So you got to share those experiences. So you can't always have a guard up. You can't always say, I ain't let nobody get close. And then they got that one saying, we as women can't get along. Yes, we can. If we just put down all the nonsense that we be trying to drum up all the time, if we just put down the nonsense and mature and grow up and be real women. If there's an issue or a problem you have with someone, hey, pull them aside and say, hey, I didn't like when you said that. I didn't like when you did that. Let's talk about it. Or why did you do that? Did I offend you? Did I hurt you by some way? Because if it's so, I need to apologize. And just take the humble road. Be let humility come in so that you can get past and develop that relationship. Because there's times in those relationships that I had that there was some arguments, there was some differences. But once we got past that, our relationship was stronger. Our friendship was stronger. So we have to share those values and experiences. I remember one time that my friend decided that she no longer believed in the devil, that she just believed in God and didn't believe in Jesus anymore. And then, that our lives determine what good comes to us and what bad comes to us. And I knew that was that new age religion, but I did not stop being her friend. When she would talk about it, I would come back with the truth of the Bible and what God says. And then at one point, we just agreed to disagree. And then a couple of years later, she came back around and said, you know what? I was tripping. That ain't right. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus. He my Savior. I love him. But if I had just thrown her away or just had nothing to do with her, she wouldn't even have nobody to come back to and just say, hey, I'm sorry, I was wrong. I got off the left foot, And what happened was she wound up being a friend with somebody that was in that type of religion and belief. So that's how she got thrown off with that. So we have to be there, even when these friendships go left. Now, if they go left and nobody's being harmed, okay, that's fine. But if somebody's being harmed, then that's a different story. You have to take you have to take a step back from that. So with those differences, we develop deep connections. So we share histories, we share connections, and then there's a benefit for true friendship. We have companionship, we have resilience, we have health benefits, providing safe environment for growth and a lifelong learning, because my one friend, she was an older woman, and she just gave me the jewels of being an elderly woman. Don't be afraid to make friends with elderly women, because their wisdom that they have is so valuable. And that's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about my enduring value of friendship. These are jewels. These are diamonds. These are rubies that are priceless. Those friendships that you have, they are priceless. And then we have to remember that true friendship thrives on mutual respect and emotional support that's fostering growth, joy, and lasting well-being. And this all defined by the quality and the depth of our connection. So if you don't put no time into the friendship, then the benefit is going to be less. But if you put a whole lot of time into that friendship, guess what? That's going to bring you a whole lot of joy, a whole lot of comfort, companionship. It's going to bring you that. When you just up, I'm a night owl. I'm up to 12 o'clock in the morning. And sometimes, a friend calling like, you up? I'm like, yeah, I'm up. But I got friends that I can't call at 12 and 1 o'clock, because guess what? They went to bed at 6 or 7 o'clock. So these are the things and the connections you learn about your friends. And then lastly, I want to talk about real quick how studies and researchers have concluded that friendship could reduce our stress in situations of social rejection. Also, there are studies that prove and conclude that close friendship helps us overcome adversity. Those are times when I was going through with my husband, or going through with family members, or going through situations at church. My friends were there to hold me up, to give me what I needed, And as I said, make sure, go to church. Get some friendships. When they have women's meeting, when they have men's meeting, when they have conferences, or when they have picnics or fundraisers and skating parties and stuff, go out and be a part of that. You cannot connect with someone and the preaching that's going on and the singing and you're in worship. It's hard to connect with someone like that, because you in worship, you in praise. But if you could just take the time to go and be in part of those events, at your church, so that you can develop a friendship, because these are times that friendship would just help you overcome different adversities in your life. And I found out lately, there's people that need friends, but then you want to always be a dummy downer when it comes to your friend trying to help you. You got to let down. You got to release. We're trying to give you advice to help you, and you're trying to say it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna do this. It ain't. Hey, they're there to help you. Receive that and hear what they're saying and apply it. Let's not just be combative all the time when there's a friend there trying to help you. Because it's rough. It's rough when a friend is there. And I'm going through some situations like that right now, trying to help individuals, and they're just giving you pushback all the time. And it gets tiring and it gets weary. And so we're people too with emotions and feelings, and we steadily trying to help, but we getting pushed back. So these researchers, they conclude that this friendship can give us the strength we need throughout our lifeline. So, in the moments we need the most, close friends can help us stay strong, let go, and continue to move forward in our life if we just continue with that friendship. So I'm Dr. Yolonda Butler. I pray that has, put some thinking, put some thought, gonna make you meditate on some things so that you can develop friendships that I have had and cherished. And they are precious and they are jewels to me. They're priceless. So I have come to the end of my session. Remember that Mother loves you. Always meet me here at KAZ, and we will see